Welcome to Voice Rising with Sara Johnstad. Enjoy weekly conversations with leading luminaries, pioneering visionaries, singers, poets, musicians, and sound healers as we explore the profound role our voice plays on the path to self-realization and global enlightenment. The internationally acclaimed singer, composer, author, healer, recording artist, voice expert, creator of Voice Your Essence, and founder of the School of Voice, Sara Johnstad uses her extraordinary spiritual gifts to empower others. Everything in this world vibrates. Everything has a frequency. A pioneer in the field of voice work and transformational songwriting. Her breakthrough methods are helping thousands of people worldwide fine-tune their body-mind-spirit system and unlock the energetic frequencies of limitless creativity, health, and abundance. Share your voice, ask your questions, join in the conversation. Receive life-changing, positive transformation and rise together to create a sound world. And here's your host, Sara Johnstad.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Voice Rising. In studio with me today is Sara Hartman. Sara Hartman is a singer and songwriter raised in Sag Harbor, New York. And in 2015, she relocated to Berlin, Germany, at the tender age of 19 to pursue a career in pop. She's multi-talented. You can find her in Berlin, writing new songs, hanging out in cafes, performing, and also teaching at the School of Voice. She teaches singers how to find their signature sound and create songs that come straight from the heart. Welcome, Sara, to the show. It's great to have you with me today.
Hello, I'm happy to be here. You know, it's spending our self-isolation with some quality time, quality conversation.
That's anyway. Right. You are in you're doing distant socializing or socializing while being distant. I mean that's kind of the story of a songwriter, isn't it? Socializing while being distant at the same time. Isn't that something that
somehow
you feel comfortable with? Yeah. So I'm going to start this I'm going to start this conversation a really, hopefully a very easy place, and then we're going to dive deeper into those big questions that I know that you carry within, just like I do. Let's start with your childhood. What's one of your strongest memories you had as a kid connecting to music and or your voice?
Yeah, I mean, well, you know, I am teaching at School of Voice, and I am a singer. You know, I'm a late bloomer when it comes to voice. I was a drummer. I'm a drummer, I guess. I haven't played in a long time, but yeah, I mean that was kind of my musical foundation, was hitting stuff and having it be loud and being very excited about that. So that was, yeah, it was, you know, sparks flew immediately there, and I had very patient parents and very patient neighbors who let me just kind of bang away in the basement until I actually got semi-decent at it. And you know, it was all kind of from there. But it was my mother and my brother, like, you know, music was always a big part of our life, you know, and we would always dance when, you know, silly songs. And my brother, actually, I credit him with one of the first songs, like original songs in our lives, and it was called Hey Birdie Birdie, and I can sing a little.
Yeah, sing a little bit of Hey Birdie Birdie.
A little sample. I think he was. Wait, I'll give you some context. Well, we had a bird. It was a dove.
Nice.
And, yeah. Well, her name was Birdie. So yeah, and my brother, being probably 4 at the time, sang Hey Birdie Birdie, I got a treat for you. Hey birdie birdie, I got a treat for you. And then that was it. It would just go on for 10 minutes or so of the same
until the bird got fed, kind of thing.
Of course. Yeah, it's true. Until the bird noticed there were seeds in the hand, and then yeah. Anyways, that's
So that was the first introduction. That was the introduction to, like, wow, we can create songs in the moment, on the spot. So were you singing as a kid, Sara, or did that really start so much later? Were you holding it all back? I mean, were you internalizing everything that you had as a kid, or were you out there singing and playing with your voice?
Well, see. Well, it wasn't. I mean, I had a very good teacher. His name was Paul Chapin, and he's actually, he's Harry Chapin's brother. He's in Sag Harbor, and he started teaching me drums, and, you know, I was like a way too excited kid, you know, just kind of like, music, yeah, woo! And there was a piano in the room, and so I was like, can you teach me this? And he was like, well, I guess. And then there was a bass, and I was like, can you teach me this? And then he was like, okay, I guess. And then so on and so forth with guitar, and, you know, so I learned sort of the basics on everything, and then I realized that, I could write songs, you know. I was like, if my brother could do it, with Hey Birdie Birdie, I might as
We
well
can do Hey Birdie Birdie.
give it a shot. You know, yeah, and then, you know, the first songs, and then it very quickly actually became an outlet, you know, a coping mechanism. You know, sometimes, you know, I'm a child from a broken home, like many, and it's a confusing time, and I'm actually really glad that I discovered quite early that I could write about it and sing about it, and that made me feel better, you know, and yeah, it was. I still use it. I still use that coping mechanism. So,
yeah, I mean, were you able to, if you're able to write about it and share about it, were you able to share about it also in front of other people, or was that difficult because you would then expose all the brokenness that you were going through?
Well put, actually. I hid it. I hid it for a very long time. But I played in the pit for the school musicals. I was the fluffy-haired drummer that, you know, people could not really see over because my hair was so big. And and then the chorus teacher was kind of involved with that, and she heard me playing a song at the, you know, the classic story. I actually don't remember exactly how it went, and she was like, "You should be singing." I'm like, I don't know. But then, yeah, she eventually coaxed me into, really kind of learning what you can do with your voice and the power of that, you know, because it was always about the message, and when you only enhance the message when you know your instrument more, I suppose. And I owe her a lot for kind of allowing me to kind of step into the spotlight, to be invited into the spotlight, because the drummers generally stay at the back of the stage, you know. So I had to be invited, and I'm glad I was.
Yeah, they generally stay in the back, but everybody who's been out front as a singer knows that it's the drummer that really connects with the heartbeat and the breath. So if you have a drummer that's not in sync with you, you can feel rushed, or you can feel like it's dragging. So the drummer really needs to be able to breathe with the singer out front. And if you're not in sync, it doesn't work. I don't know if you've made. I've had that experience, and if you have a drummer that's really not breathing with you, you can feel really stressed out. Yeah. So Sarah, I mean, a lot of people might not know you were, you know, you came to Berlin with 19, with this really young age of 19, but you didn't come absolutely lost with 2 suitcases. You were actually signed to a major label. And
yes,
you have actually in for somebody who wasn't singing with 5 except for singing Birdie Birdie, you have written some very renowned songs, and you were playing for big crowds, right? So where was the turning point? You know, okay, you're a drummer. Okay, somebody recognized your voice. Where's the turning point where you're like, I'm going to commit to living my life as a singer-songwriter? I mean, this is something I have to do. Where was that turning point for you that made you realize this is my life path, at least in the moment? We don't know where you're going to be in 5 years, but it seems like singing and songwriting is, and playing drums maybe. Now I got you on that. So next time we meet, you're going to show me some stuff. But where was that turning point? Where did it happen? Or how did that happen?
Yeah. I mean, I was, I suppose, a bit of a late bloomer here too. I didn't really realize, you know, but I was blessed to have supportive parents. You know, they really were like, do it, go, do this, you know. And I was like, okay, I'm good at this. I like doing, I mean, being about music, about writing music, about performing music, and I went to school. I went to Berkeley and Boston for a year. You know, my poor dad is still paying Sally Mae for that, but you know, it's I was like, okay, this is what I'm doing. And then I got the massive opportunity to move to Berlin and really do it for real. But it wasn't until, honestly, this is why I like this question, because it made me think about it, because it wasn't until I got dropped from the major, had to really think about and analyze, like introspect, I suppose, why I was doing it, that I realized it's the only thing I want to do. And that's, I mean, like when you do things as a job, they generally tend to, you lose the joy a little bit. Or if you're not speaking your whole truth, or if you're allowing people to sort of mold you and shape you into, which is essentially the gist of what happened to me and is happening to a lot of, you know, young dreamers. But it wasn't until I got dropped and I wasn't making anything, you know, like it wasn't until I really had to question if it didn't pay, you know, if I didn't have the opportunity, like, would I still do it? I'm getting a bit lost in it, but
there's a beautiful there's a beautiful phrase that you have to hit rock bottom sometimes before you can push up and, you know,
there we
shoot
go.
up.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
and
it.
so
that's it.
I'm assuming when you got that label contract from the major label, you probably were, you know, had stars in your eyes and thought, I'm living the dream. And then obviously
they sold me the dream. I fully bought it, you know. And
exactly. And then something happened. Something happened where you were playing for a lot of audiences. You were playing all around Europe and States and television shows and, you know, up and coming shooting star. And then whatever happened, you don't have to go into it. But after that break, put it like that, or that awareness, or that waking up moment, or waking up out of a dream moment, right? Hitting maybe rock bottom, if I can say that. You did gather the strength in your legs, your drumming legs, to shoot back up, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Do you see? I mean, I'm just curious because I see it like that. But do you see the relationship now to you living your life as an artist and the commitment that it takes? And like you said, it doesn't matter if you're making millions or if you're just trying to get a bag of rice and beans on the table. Do you see that as like the greatest love affair that you could have? And if so, this is a very wacky question, but I love the question. Is it this commitment and vow to your own true voice that you say, really, like in sickness and in health till death do us part, I'm going to be with you? Is it that?
I mean, absolutely, Frau Johnstad. That is
absolutely.
Exactly, yeah, I know. I don't know why I said that. But
You're Fruit Looping on me, girl.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, but you're really, it isn't, you know, there's nothing more, I suppose you got to self-destruct to rebuild. And I think it's, it's nobody's fault, I guess, but it's essentially, you gotta know you gotta find your voice before it's shot into the stratosphere, if you know what I mean. You know, like you gotta have that foundation of who you are and what you want to stand for, and before you go through the machinery, you know, and otherwise it generally doesn't go well. And what happened to me is, I mean, long gory story short, I lost the love. I lost the love for it, you know. I was like, I felt like I mean, this is kind of the image I use, you know, those old-fashioned automatons, those like first robots, they're made of like clock pieces and stuff. Like, I imagined myself as one of those, and I had all these switches on my back, and all the switches were kind of feelings, you know, like, and I had to turn all those switches off to do what I did. which is not bad. Like I'm honestly stupid grateful for the opportunity and the experience that was offered to me. But I bought the dream, but nobody really warned me of what it would cost, if you follow.
You felt kind of like a cog in the wheel. I mean, I think that that's what a lot of people, we long to have the performer in front get bare naked and stripped down so that we can connect maybe more with our own feelings and don't realize at what cost it comes, right? So what cost, what does it cost for that person in front to not only expose your own truth, but what I'm hearing from you is that maybe also in that machinery, it wasn't 100% your own truth, because if it was your own truth, you could have lived it. But if you're just being asked to write certain songs or maybe look a certain way, or at least with me at that time, I was even asked to wear certain things because, suddenly you're like, what is this, But what I find very difficult is that as artists, and I think that's what's the tension that artists have. Artists normally are very curious and very open to explore and very malleable, because that's our nature, is to improvise, to explore, to be flexible, to say yes. And then we realize that saying yes expands us so much that we almost are ripped apart or are dissolving, right?
It can happen that way. And I think I read a quote far too late, but it was Alanis Morissette, actually. I was born the year Jagged Little Pill came out. That's also something I found out in my Googling. But she said, she's quite outspoken about her anti-industry feelings. I'm not anti-industry, because the industry is made up of human beings, and I think they're just kind of doing what has been done before. It's not any individual's fault. I think it's just kind of a toxic mindset that frankly makes the people in the industry sick as well. But Alanis Morissette said, the only thing that will help you get through the machine is a solid foundation, and that foundation is good people, emotional support, like just people who understand what you're trying to do. And the foundation is also just knowing what you are. And I was 19 and living in a foreign country. So literally I didn't have any foundation, so of course, it wasn't the best, it wasn't the worst. But I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot.
Beautiful.
And and now I'm teaching. So I'm
That's
very,
right. That's
very
right.
happy
You're giving back.
Yeah.
You're giving back. You learned a lot. So we're going to take a small take a small station break, Sarah. We're going to be back in 1 or 2 moments, and we're going to go even deeper into all this beauty.
Do we talk during the breaks?
The cutting edge of conscious radio. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organisation, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. Connect at omtimes.com. OMTimes, creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Have you bought into the idea that you have to work hard for your money, that business is hard? I will share some dynamic access consciousness tools to get you out of your own way so you can create a business that actually succeeds. Join me, Simone Millisers, on The Joy of Business at 4 p.m. Mondays Eastern.
With happy clients all over the world, Kara Johnstad knows that your voice is the missing link to more authenticity, abundance, creativity, and health. An internationally acclaimed voice expert, Kara's breakthrough methods have helped thousands of people successfully heal their voice wounds and extinguish the story of self-doubt and shyness forever. Join in group trainings, attend online sessions, schedule one-on-one time, and invite Kara to work with your organization and community. Get started today. Go to www.karajohnstad.com and receive a special guided meditation designed to fine-tune your inner voice and welcome you on the voice journey.
A social distancing tip.
Putting distance between yourself and others is critical to slowing the spread of coronavirus. So here are ways to stay in contact without the physical contact part. Call, send a text, set up a video conference, post on social media, dedicate a song on the radio. If you have symptoms of fever, dry cough, and shortness of breath, call your healthcare provider before going to their office. For more info, visit coronavirus.gov.
Let's all do our part, because we're all #AloneTogether. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Hi, everybody. We are back at Voice Rising. I'm your host, Kara Johnstad, and I'm in studio with the singer-songwriter Sara Hartman. Sara, let's dive a little bit. We were talking about it before the break. Let's talk about vulnerability as a strength. Let's talk about the ability that songwriters have to risk, to expose, and at the same time, and maybe you can help us out with that. Everybody knows that when we expose our emotions, that we also run the risk of having our throat tighten, having tears come up in the oddest moments. You are known, and we're going to have the ability in a few seconds to listen to one of your newest songs that you've written, but you do write very emotionally and deep. You say that people should be able to dance and cry to your music, which I think is great. How do you work with putting yourself in the lights, exposing yourself? Your soul is bare naked for everyone to see. And still you have a lot of group dynamics. I mean, most of us, if we would, start to cry, we wouldn't have 20,000 pairs of eyes staring at us. So how do you manage to stay connected, like you said, not as a cog in the wheel, but to stay human and to stay vulnerable, and at the same time have that foundation and to have that inner core strength that we need?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think it is very much about identity. It's very much about being nice to yourself. I know it's very simple, but if you're up there like, oh, I'm going to mess it up, everybody thinks I'm going to mess it up, and then you're probably not going to put on a good show, But it's really, there is something to positive affirmation, and there is something to, I mean, breathing, like hold breathing in for 3 seconds and breathe it out for 6, and then you can kind of catch your breath and be in your body. And feelings are going to happen. We can't really control that unless there's some kind of new study going on that, I don't know about. But, the other day I was listening to Merkel's speech about Corona with English subtitles, and I was crying in the train, Well, that's a whole political subtext there, but and then people were like, oh man, the stares of someone showing emotion. What? It's like, yeah, you can't control that. And I think, I guess the biggest tip that I wish I had told myself back in the day is just allow space for feelings. We are performers. We do deal in feelings. We write about feelings. And the more you fight that, the more it'll come up in pretty messed up ways. So I think it's meditation, It's essentially the basis of meditation is allowing space for yourself in your body, and yourself is your emotional self and your rational self. I think, yeah. And the biggest one was this is, well, I'm quoting myself, which is a bit weird, but I write a lot of odd sort of poetry, and you look in the mirror long enough, you learn to see a self you can love. And I looked at a lot of pictures of my face are on the internet. That's weird for me, and most of them are from the bottom of the stage, so it's like right up my nose, which is not the most flattering angle, for anyone. So it's just, but then, I have this big tall mirror in my room from like I don't know, I think I found it or something, but it's really nice. And, I mean, maybe this is too much information, but, I get out of the shower with my robe on and I'm just like, well, that's me. and I have this mole above my belly button. And, and that is my sexy spot, like, I'm like, yeah,
cool.
Belly button mole,
cool girl.
I love you. And it started with the small things, because, you look down and you're like, well, I hate my legs and my toes are weird. You can find everything wrong with yourself if you, but, I started with my belly button mole and I've worked up to, I don't know. I don't hate myself. I'm not a huge fan of myself, but I'm okay. I'm okay with myself. I think I fit the skin I'm in at the moment.
That's beautiful.
And
I think
that took a while. But
I think self-love, it's not a topic only for songwriters. I think it's a topic for many people, and especially women that I work with. It's that we can definitely keep on reminding ourselves to not self-sabotage, but to really reach out. And I'd like the people to hear something that you're doing, talking about self-love and especially with women that we work with. You wrote a new song called Girl, and you just released it March 20th. It was actually Berlin was going into quarantine, and I was saying to somebody, this is the antidote. This is the little pill that everybody needs while they're in quarantine. To listen to this track, I did check it out today on YouTube, and as of today, you have 20,000 plays within 10 days, and that's only YouTube. So I'm sure Spotify and all these other places is going. So people love the track. What would you like to share with us before we play Girl? What is Girl about?
Well, it was just a random thing I remembered. I read Steppenwolf by Hermann Hesse, in English, but he's a German writer, so I was like, ooh, yeah, and I found it at the airport. And so I got it, and it was like a newer version, and there's a whole prologue in the beginning of Steppenwolf, and Steppenwolf is dark. It's very, very dark, and does touch on the subject of suicide, and apparently the book he addresses in this prologue that essentially there were a bunch of people that thought he was glorifying suicide when he was just kind of talking about it. He was clearing the air, and Hermann Hesse, I actually don't know the cause of his death, but I should have looked that up. But his whole prologue was essentially, guys, suicide isn't the answer. Like, it happens sometimes, but the damage it causes isn't worth it. Like, to talk about depression, you can't. I don't mean to. Yeah, I suppose Girl, to make a long ramble short, it's not a suicide song. It's a surviving song, and that is. So
that was
the message,
that the message or the message was, to again, self-love, maybe to come from a very deep and dark space and find a glimpse of self-worth and light. Yeah. Okay, let's play it for them. Let's play it. This is Sara Hartman's newest release. It's called Girl, and you're going to listen to it. You're one of the first radio shows that she's giving an interview with. The first. Yeah. So you guys listen in.
What's a white lie in the white noise? Bring on the landslide, take on the quiet void. What are you hiding in those diamond eyes you didn't deserve? the start of something. You can shake the world in a gentle way. Start a ride, protect your name.
The track Girl from Sara Hartman with me here today in studio at Voice Rising. Sara, you say in that beautiful song, be brave, be brave. Some people don't get to speak for themselves. Do you feel like you found your, what one could say, your true voice, your real voice in those last 3 years when you were swimming in the mud and down
Flip,
deep?
yeah.
And what were some of the obstacles?
Mm-hmm.
What were some of the obstacles that you faced to really stand true to yourself, and how did you conquer some of those fears?
Well, I wouldn't say I've conquered those fears, actually.
Okay.
I think it kind of comes back to that weird idea I had before of just kind of allowing space for it. You know, when you stand up on stage, I mean, I was more scared playing for a group of my friends than standing on stage in front of however many thousand people, you know, like fear is fear, and there's many reasons why you feel fear. But if you're kind of like, yep, I'm scared, but I've done this before, then somehow it makes it a bit easier. And there's plenty of things to be scared of, you know. But what is there? There's like there's a very silly song. If you're gonna be dumb, you gotta be tough. Which is a bit of a, but it's very, you know, if you want to believe in something, if you're going to live as vulnerably and as naively as a lot of artists I've met, myself included, live, you also have to learn self-defense, I suppose. Yeah. And I've learned to kind of, a woman must know her limitations, you know, like, and I know I've crossed those lines over and over and over again, and I'm like, well, yep, probably shouldn't do that again, because it leads to panic, it leads to worry, it leads to, you know, days where you can't leave your bed, and so but there's always a tomorrow, and I don't know, it's all the cliches at once, but there's something to it, you know. There's really something to it, and that's really kind of it, is knowing yourself and knowing how to protect that, I suppose.
Maybe also taking the time to know yourself, right? There's a lot of people that we're always asked to run and run and run. So when we slow it down, I mean, I was going to ask you the question if you have a trick to calming those inner critics, but you might just say to me, give them space. I used to say that myself. It's like the critics are always hanging out with you, but you don't have to feed them the cake and champagne. You can leave them sitting in the corner. It's kind
Of course,
like,
give them the dunce cap. It's like you can be at the party, but nobody's gonna want you here. And then maybe they'll leave by themselves. I don't know.
Just ignore
I think
them.
it's very
Enough.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I read this a friend of mine showed me this book about monsters under your bed, and it's like based on like CBT. It's actually like written by therapists about how to, for kids how to conquer their fears and whatever that means, and because like a fear is kind of just a manifestation of some kind of whatever subconscious, I don't know. And there's lots of reasons to be afraid of things, except for spiders. That's a very rational fear. They are very scary. But yeah, so the monsters, you talk to the monsters. And then they're less scary. You ask like, why are you here, monster? Why do you want to scare me? And it like makes me kind of want to tear up a little bit because, kill him with kindness. Hopefully that works.
Did you find yourself talking to all the wackos that you had signed contracts with, or ex-lovers, or mother-in-laws, or I don't know. Did you find yourself talking in that healing process to odd characters that you've had crossed in your life?
Somehow, yeah. But I think it's I'm of the naive belief that nobody's born bad. People do horrible things. People do unforgivable, horrible things.
I think that's why the name Heart is in your name.
Oh,
did you ever realize that? I think you.
It's true.
Sarah, we're gonna take a little break, cool. And then we're gonna dive more into your music. Okay.
Sweet.
So you stay tuned, Miss Heart Woman.
Life is hard, man.
Bringing a more conscious lifestyle to your world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free. AscendingHearts.com.
Hi, this is David Strickle. I'm excited to share my brand new show, The Stream of David Live, right here on OMTimes Radio. Each week I'll have exciting guests and I'll channel the eternal wisdom of the stream, a group of non-physical entities whose teachings have transformed lives all over the world. So join us for an uplifting hour each Monday at 5 p.m. Eastern. That's The Stream of David Live right here on OMTimes Radio.
Imagine being fired because of who you love. Imagine being denied medical treatment because of who you marry. Imagine being evicted because of who you are. Millions of Americans don't have to imagine this. They have to live it. Because in 31 states, it's legal to discriminate against LGBT people. Get the facts at beyondido.org. Brought to you by the Gill Foundation and the Ad Council.
Hey everybody, we are back in studio with singer-songwriter Sara Hartman, and we are diving deeper into, what makes us want to even sing. And we're writers. And Sarah, we live in the layers of songs that have been passed on from generation to generation, and we are so full of stories, and we are so hungry for stories, and people are so hungry for songs. And tell me what makes a story worth telling again and again and again and again.
Very good question. I did some thinking on this one, actually. You know, you sent me the questions a little bit earlier, so I really wanted to answer it well. Because I learned about a thing called the monomyth, which is essentially, I'm going to get the date wrong, maybe the 40s, but do not quote me on that. But it's by a guy named Joseph Campbell. And he's essentially a cultural, he collected essentially all of the myths from around the world. Egypt, Mesopotamia, Greek myths, Chinese philosophy, you know, like all of them. He collected all of them, and he created this kind of circular monomyth and kind of found the common thread. And the monomyth is essentially the Star Wars plot line, you know, like character, conflict, and then the circle ends, and then they restart, you know, and it's essentially, it's the same story, you know?
It's the same story with different characters.
Yes, different characters, different messages, different metaphors hidden in it, different poetry, different images. Also very important to tell stories from now. But I think that in the way that science explains the kind of physical world around us, or it's kind of our understanding of the world and how it works, I think stories are the closest thing that we have to, or reference to kind of understand emotion and kind of the role of what being human really means, I guess. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Beautiful. Yeah. No, it makes sense. Tell me what the story means. You have another new song, and it's not even out on the market, so we're really happy here to have it.
It's a rough one. It's the writing.
It's a
demo,
rough one.
It's right. Yeah.
Right. It's a mix. It's a mix, and it's probably going to be mastered soon and brought out.
Yeah.
I grabbed some of the lyrics. I didn't grab them all because they're not even out there yet, you guys. So I believe in a higher cause. Not sure what I'm fighting for. I'm just a fool who's trying to love you and then blame it on my American ego, trying to be an everyday hero. Here we go, the hero's journey. Too proud to want to change. Tell me about your song that is not yet released, but it's going to come out in 2020, American Ego. Before we play it, just give me a little insight.
So, it wasn't until I left America that I realized kind of what being an American kind of is, you know, and a friend of mine, I'll get silly before I get serious, but because America, it's a bit of a loaded topic, especially for Americans living abroad that are the expats that I've found here, because we, you know, the orange one who shall not be named is, most people are not a fan and generally embarrassed. Some people also support him, which is also cool. You know, all
democracy, right?
Yeah, right. So, but I thought it was really funny. A friend of mine, he's Belgian, and he was like, we were at a bar or something, I don't remember, and he's like, you can always tell when there's an American in the room, because there was this. You can actually, like, there's always, and as an American, I was like, oh man, is that me? But then, there's always like an American in the corner of some European bar, just like, let me tell you how it is, and always as the loudest voice in the room, and that was the first time I was like, you know, Americans are pretty silly, you know, like we're very, very, very sure that our way of life is the only way of life and the best way of life, but I think we're pretty darn wrong about that. But that confidence, you got to admire that confidence. And,
okay, let's listen to your track, American Ego. Yeah. It's gonna come out in 2020. Not yet sure when, but let's listen to it.
Yeah.
And as two Americans in exile in Europe, I think we can learn something, get something out of it.
Yeah.
I'm all in, I'm nothing at all. Too fast, put to the floor. Can't can't change what they sent me to war. Not sure what I'm fighting for. I believe in a higher call, blind faith with something more. You know I hate when you look at me like that. Don't look at me like that. I'm just a fool who's trying to love you right back. Blame it on my American ego, trying to be your everyday hero. Got a habit of holding on when I should be letting go. Maybe it's my American ego. American ego. My American ego. Overfed and underpaid. Too proud to wanna change. Something to me that's a little unchained. I'll be here to the bitter end. I don't have to understand. Feet in the clouds, head in the sand. You know I love it when you look at me like that. So look at me like that. I'm just the fool who's trying to love you right back. Blame it on my American ego, trying to be your everyday hero. Got a habit of holding on when I should be letting go. Maybe it's my dollar in the ocean. Well, I know I put you through hell. How can I save you if I can't save myself? Last dollar in the ocean. Well, I know I put you through hell. How can I save you if I can't save myself? I blame it on my American ego, trying to be your everyday hero. Got a habit of holding on when I should be letting go. Maybe it's my American ego. American ego. My American ego. American ego. My American ego.
Yeah, Sara Hartman in studio with me today with a mix. Actually, it's a good mix from an upcoming single. Sara, a couple of years ago, you did approach me and you said you'd like to share your gifts of singing and songwriting, not only with audiences and in studios, but you'd like to start teaching, especially younger kids, and you'd like to give those gifts back. You are teaching at the School of Voice. Our school is
Yes,
smack
I
in the middle of
am.
Europe in Berlin. And since this global pandemic, actually, we're 100% online, which means that you've been sharing your gifts also online and teaching. What changed when you started teaching and not just be the one that everyone's looking at on stage and digging into your own stuff, but supporting other voices to create their signature sound and to anchor in their own life stories? What changed for you? Did something shift?
It flipped the script, to be totally honest. You know, it was, I mean, I've come to the conclusion that if you can teach somebody something, doesn't matter the age, doesn't matter the skill level, that means you really understand it, you know, and that means you really get the point of it. And I've actually, like, in my way of trying to kind of like explain to like an 8-year-old powerhouse singer like what a major 7 chord is, you know, like I was like, oh wait, I have no idea how to explain this. You know, like I know what it is, but I've also kind of, but it really, it's helped, honestly, me a lot in finding my own sort of foundation and platform for, you know, I mean, what you're preaching with the School of Voice is essentially finding your own voice and making sure that you're not faking it, you know, like you shouldn't sound like anybody on the radio unless you have genetically, you know, the same, well, you shouldn't be imitating. I mean, imitating is the highest form of flattery, but you gotta, and it's a good kind of way of learning. But in order to really reach the core of what you're doing, especially if you're writing songs as well, you gotta find where your voice sits and what you can do with it. And I think it comes down to honesty. It comes down to authenticity. I mean, being honest with yourself, you know. If you can't be honest with yourself, how the hell are you going to be honest with somebody else, you know?
Yeah, I think you're right about that. It's the honesty that builds also the intimacy that you need then also with your audience, right? You need that intimacy. Oh, yeah. So, Sarah, we are, as you know, we are in Berlin. We are in lockdown. New York is in a horrible state. We are, you know, if people you guys might be listening to this later, but in the moment we're in a global pandemic, a very complex time. We also had huge climate change issues in the last year. I mean, many, many layers of things. Do you think that we can heal this world if we change the narrative, if we pull together, focus on our gifts, come back to that place of unconditional love and change the storyline? You're a storyteller, so what do you think about that?
I mean, I really hope so. You know, I really, really hope we can change it, because it I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's a virus, and frankly, I'm so sorry that this is happening. You know, like real pain is happening, real unnecessary death is happening, like right now, and that's just horrible. And you know, it's a friend of mine who did the strings for Girl, actually. Her name is Charlie McLean, and yeah, she said it's the governments now have the choice to prioritize money or people. And it's quite clear which ones are doing which. And that is a horrific, it hurts me. It hurts me a lot. And I mean, I will sing about it because I just need to deal with this situation. And if anybody else can kind of feel better from a song that I wrote or a song that I sing in this process, then great. But it's definitely a lot. But I mean, even because there's lyrics, there is the story, but then music literally heals. Like vibrations and frequencies literally heal. Like a cat's purr is a healing frequency. I don't know, maybe my girlfriend just told me that and she's a crazy cat lady, but I don't know, it works on me.
No, music heals. Come on, she's not crazy. And cat purrs heal, and humming heals. Listening to someone whistle heal. I mean, we want to be uplifted through music. Otherwise, it wouldn't be such a huge industry. Music saved you, Miss Hartman. It did save you. So, what is the one thing you want everyone to understand about the power of music, and especially what is the one thing that you would love if somebody didn't know anything about the voice, but you could share with them some little golden nugget? What might that be?
Yeah, it's the space to feel, you know, and music is a space to feel, you know, like if it's not socially acceptable to cry on the train, but you know, if there was a sad song playing, everyone would be totally cool with me crying, you know, like it changes the context. You're allowed to feel mad when you're listening to death metal music. It breaks the tension. It allows space for emotion, quite literally, you know, and it is healing, you know, like at the clubs here, they generally play disco on Sunday because it's like after this crazy weekend, and you know, it's especially when you kind of look at the history of it, when, you know, the AIDS was going on and most of these parties are gay, people's friends were dying around them and they still were dancing to disco on Sunday, you know, and that is just like defiant joy, and that is the meaning of existence. Gosh darn it. And yeah, I guess I had one little snippet. Do you know the story of I believe it's a Buddhist story about falling in the hole, the same hole. So it's
the autobiography in 5 chapters. Yeah. We're gonna hold that because we're coming to the end of the show. Miss Sara Hartman, you've been a delight to have on the show. I know that story very well. It's the autobiography in 5 chapters, and at the end they basically walk around the hole.
Yes.
Right? No, they walk down another street.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Or somebody gets you a ladder, you know, and that's what we are as musicians, singers, as healers, you know. We're building ladders. Hopefully.
As singers and healers, we are building ladders. Sara, thank you so much for being with me on the show today. And I hope you had a